youth vote? There's been a rash of creative destruction from voting officials who would prefer to dilute or discourage youth turnout. Students at Virginia Tech were told if they voted locally, they could forfeit their scholarships, lose their health insurance, or increase their parents' taxes. In the swing state of Pennsylvania at Drexel University, a friendly-looking note was posted warning students that undercover police officers would be at the polls on Election Day, looking to make arrests for outstanding traffic offenses. All utter lies. These are voter suppression tactics, and they are all factually incorrect, according to the Supreme Court, which has ruled that students can vote where they go to school. If you are a student watching this show right now, you can vote where you go to school. It's the law. Joining us now is Matthew Siegel, who's the Executive Director for the Student Association for Voter Empowerment. Matthew, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Rachel.
The generational divide among the electorate could be more stark. Younger voters overwhelmingly favoring Barack Obama. Given the suppression efforts and given the history of young voters, I guess, enthusiasm not translating into actual votes, apathy, which is what we've seen on Election Day. The youth vote has never come out like, say, the senior vote or the evangelical vote. Do you believe it will be different this year?
Young people are going to play a pivotal role this election. First off, there's every indication based on recent statistics, youth voter turnout increased 11% among 18 to 29-year-olds from 2000 to 2004, from 2002 to 2006. Both midterm elections, youth voter turnout increased 3%. And then in this recent 2008 season, we've seen the turnout among youth double, triple, and even quadruple in some states. So these enduring problems that we're facing necessitate sustainable participation, and young people are delivering and will continue to deliver for decades to come, I think, now.
Well, your expectation about the youth vote is apparently matched by those who would prefer that it not be true, because we've seen this year a raft of voter suppression tactics aimed specifically at students. What do you think the impact is going to be of tactics like those that we saw at Drexel or those that we saw at Virginia Tech, with voters being warned in specifically student-y ways that they ought not vote at school?
Sure. Well, first off, it's hard to quantify how many voters these tactics will disenfranchise. But this gets to the larger issue here, that there are people that have vested interest in seeing students not be able to turn out, given perhaps our political persuasion or the political affiliation that many young people tend to suggest. And then there's also this historical problem of local residents in college towns viewing college students as somehow imposing their viewpoints on them or trying to dilute their votes. But it's important to state here that college students give valuable contributions to their community. I know from my own experience as a college student that many college students go out into the local communities, volunteer, they do all sorts of area service programs, and we also help the local economy, creating jobs, dining and shopping at local restaurants and businesses. So young people very much care about their communities, and they should be able to vote there. And as you pointed out, the Supreme Court affirmed that right in 1979.
And of course, we see some disproportionate impact of voter suppression efforts that are more broadly targeted on students. Things like requiring a voter ID. I think a Rock the Vote poll found that 19% of young voters don't have a government ID that has their current address, and so students may be disproportionately affected by that. Let me ask you about one thing.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible, and it's obvious, and it's hard to believe that it is unintentional. But let me ask you about something in 2004, though, Matthew. There is an extent to which some of the biggest problems for students feel like precincts simply being unprepared for high turnout. Either they don't believe that students are going to turn out, or they really don't make preparations for a lot of students to turn out. You became an activist after waiting in line all day to vote in 2004, didn't you?
Sure. Yeah, well, actually, at my alma mater, Kenyon College, there were 2 voting machines allocated for 1,300 registered voters, one of which broke down for a couple of hours, which created disastrously long lines, 10 hours. Our final voter finished voting at 4:04 a.m. on November 3rd after many of the networks had called it for President Bush. And, you know, that created a devastating situation for first-time voters in that area. And one of my biggest anxieties this election is that with this incredible influx in student turnout, there might not be enough ballots or machines allocated to accommodate the turnout, which will result in long lines again. So it's so imperative that the precincts are equipped with emergency ballots or provisional ballots, which every voter has an unconditional right to, to make sure that these long lines don't disenfranchise young people and all Americans.
Although if you can avoid being forced into a provisional ballot situation, you should, but as a last resort.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Matthew
Absolutely.
Siegel, Executive Director for the Student Association for Voter Empowerment. Matthew, thanks very much for joining us tonight. Good luck.
It's great to be here, Rachel. Thanks and congrats on your new show.
Thank you.